Okay, so I worked on the Zero Carbon Britain Making It Happen report. So Kat has done a series of reports, Zero Carbon Britain, over the years, looking at how we can reach zero carbon in a few decades through technical means. However, there are so many barriers, psychological, economic, political, that this report, Making It Happen, looks at how we can overcome the barriers. So it looks for, we reviewed academic papers, government reports, NGO reports for insights and ideas for how we can overcome the barriers to making it happen, to becoming zero carbon by 2030 or 2040. The report, there's hundreds of barriers, of course, and the report divides those into different categories like psychological barriers, economic barriers, political barriers, legal barriers, etc. And within each of those, we try and look at, different ways of overcoming those. Personally, I think some of the biggest barriers are political barriers, the power of vested interests, the lack of political will. And some of the ways that we can overcome those, for example, is increased transparency, the use of shareholder or investor action with the divestment campaigns, and building political will. That's quite difficult, but building coalitions. I think the history shows that progressive social movements, we need to work together across sectors to try and show politicians that this is a movement that they need to embrace and need to move forward on. I think universities have a really important role to play. I mean, to start with, they're like little mini towns or cities in themselves, so they can do a lot on a practical level, in their buildings, through their energy systems, through their, the food they provide, the waste, the way they deal with their waste. But also, if you look at everything from teaching, you're training, a future workforce, future generations. So teaching them about sustainability is really important. Teaching them about things like the circular economy or, zero carbon buildings or zero carbon energy systems is really important. The research that's done here, feeds in a lot of good ideas and innovation come out of universities and develop into spin-off companies. And I think through your community outreach role, I mean, obviously you're a huge employer, you're a huge part of Sheffield, and I think you've got a big role to play in terms of supporting the community and bringing the community in to take you on this journey towards a zero carbon university and a zero carbon Sheffield in future. I think just better, good communication and networking. It's all about people and developing relationships. And of course, anybody that works here as a student here, they've got connections outside the university. This isn't, you don't work in a vacuum here. So you've all got sort of family, friends outside of the university. So using your connections outside, community groups like climate groups, but it's not just a sort of narrow sort of climate agenda, it's a sort of wider social justice agenda. So anybody that's concerned about the issues that climate change will affect, like housing, like fuel poverty, like air pollution, all of these issues can be brought in together, and you can sort of help support each other on those.